So, ladies and gentlemen, Zanu PF has decided to send one of its minions to come and criticize March and March. Of course, as you may know, Zanu PF is not too fond of March and March because of the whole July 30th protest that Zimbabweans were staging there in Zimbabwe, which didn't really happen, did it? As far as I'm concerned, they made sure that they shut that stuff down ASAP, quick, fast, and in a hurry. Now, one of the brews decided to, throw some shots at Jacinta. He goes by the name of, if I can pronounce it properly, forgive me if I butcher it, Taurai Kandishaya. Okay? Taurai Kandishaya was not too fond of Jacinta, and he shared a few words here and there, but I just wanted us to look at this meme over here. Says here, before joining Zanu PF, Homeslash was, needed a bit of cleaning up to do. Now that he's with Zanu PF, he's a bit loud now. He's a bit yappity. And proof is in the pudding, as he posted on the 19th of August on his Facebook page. Says here that, so Jacinta Ngobese-Zuma heard CDE Naledi Pando on the African Renaissance podcast with CDE Mbuyiseni Ndlozi saying AfriForum has millions, and suddenly she is at their door begging to learn. Basically insinuating that Jacinta is only linking up with AfriForum because of the money that they allegedly have in the forum, but also insinuating that Jacinta had no idea that AfriForum has all this money. Now, he's also insinuating that she's there for their money, which is not going to happen because AfriForum doesn't operate like that. It's not a government entity. It's an organization that it's privately owned, and basically it has its own funders, which the majority happen to be Afrikaners who also need or want a representation of a body that will represent them as a culture and as one of the official tribes in South Africa, if I can call it that. You know what I mean? So yes, they do fund this AfriForum on a monthly basis from their own purse, and you can basically donate to this organization in however you see fit. And mind you, it's not only just Afrikaners who are a part of AfriForum. I myself, if I had to go up, I'd probably also send money to this organization, as it's very, very much instrumental in holding our government accountable for things that they basically neglect to operate as far as the chosen organization or government officials of the country. So yeah, that's basically why Jacinta decided to go sit down with these people to basically learn from them and figure out ways and strategies as to how you hold a government accountable, as AfriForum has been very instrumental and very active in trying to get our NCE government to basically change certain policies that will maybe to some degree benefit the minority, which is the Afrikaner. So they basically do a lot of work that's aimed to help out the Afrikaans community in this country. March and March being a majority black organization, I think they'll learn quite a lot as to how to maneuver around the policies of this country to basically get the government to do what it's supposed to do for the black majority of this country. So I don't see what's wrong with this collaboration, but of course Zanu PF has to have a problem with this type of alliance. I would too. The hell? What do you mean you're gonna hold or learn how to hold your black government accountable for it not doing what it's supposed to do? I mean, later on in this live stream, I'll show you guys exactly why this guy is the last person to criticize March and March. Which guy exactly? This guy over here. Let me show you quickly. Brew is the last brew to criticize March and March based off of what's been going on in Zimbabwe. I mean, currently right now in Zimbabwe, they literally demolishing people's houses in the rural areas. And he's saying nothing about it. You know why? Because he's part of the same group of people or same government officials that are responsible for displacing Zimbabweans in the first place. So of course, why would he criticize his own government, right? But yeah, very rich coming from Brew, who's gonna say quite a lot of garbage as I read these comments. He says here that she marches against the black foreigners trying to make a living, but she has no problem with AfriForum, an organization whose existence is to defend an order where white South Africans hold roughly 70% to 85% of the country's private wealth, assets, asset value despite making up only 7 to 8% of the population. So he's basically criticizing the fact that how the hell are you going to collaborate with a forum that basically defends or is in cahoots with the same people who own 70% to 85% of the land, while they only account for 8% of the population. Which is funny because if you look at Zimbabwe itself, they managed to get rid of all, if not the majority of the white folk that are currently in Zimbabwe, or that were in Zimbabwe back in the past. They were able to get the land back from these white people, and basically the government currently owns all this land, and the people of Zimbabwe do not own the land. It's the government that owns this land. I'll show you later on in this live stream that they literally kicking out people off of their ancestral land just so that politicians in Zimbabwe who so happen to be Zanu PF members, just so that they can be able to acquire this land so they can operate their own farms. Literally displacing a lot of black people, the same people that they claim that South Africans have been displaced off of their land. They do the exact same thing. This happened years ago here in South Africa during the apartheid system. We as South Africans managed to run down that whole operation and literally switch it up to make it what we call a democratic country. But right now in Zimbabwe, they're literally doing the exact same thing that the apartheid government did to black people. Funny enough, right now, ironically, it's being done by who? The black folk themselves. So the oppressors in Zimbabwe happen to be black. And he's here criticizing the oppressors that were the past of the South African history. Currently, it's not the case. Obviously, yeah, he's right. Of course, he's right. The 70% of the land is still not owned by black people. But it's worse to have your own oppressors being your people who happen to have the same skin as you. It's crazy to me how this person is going to talk about dispossessors of land while they doing the exact same thing they in blood-clad Zimbabwe. Doesn't make sense to me. But South Africa is the most unequal society in the world, and AfriForum wants to protect that. Fair. You can say that, you can argue that. I can agree with you to some degree, to some extent. Fair enough. But you the last person to be criticizing AfriForum when you are literally the current apartheid version of a government system in the whole continent of Africa, in my opinion. Literally, what's going on in Zimbabwe right now is apartheid. A separation of the elite, which is the government officials, with the rest of the population. Literally, you guys are literally taking everything from the poor and giving it to government officials. It's literally happening right now in Zimbabwe. I'll show it to you in this live stream if you stay here long enough. He goes on to say that the same AfriForum that spent millions telling the world that there is a white genocide in South Africa, costing the country its international reputation, right? How does her South Africa First slogan square with running into the arms of people who have actively worked to isolate South Africa? Isolate South Africa, my booty hole. That's exactly what did not happen. I don't care who says what, but South Africa is not isolated. Matter of fact, Zimbabwe is the one that got itself isolated. How did they do that? Well, everybody knows that Zimbabwe decided to get rid of the white folk, and as a result, they got sanctions from all over the globe. Hi, Rebecca, how you doing, mama? And then he goes on to say that, literally, the last person, you can't be throwing stones when you're living in a glass house. Either she is deeply confused or she knows exactly what she is doing. There is a fair chance this affair has been going on behind closed doors. They are just now going public because she is doing such a sterling job of isolating South Africa from the rest of the continent. This clown continues on to utter BS, in my opinion. My humble, very, very respectful opinion. Well, final thoughts on this brew before I continue on with the live stream. I just feel like you're the last person to be criticizing March and March. And as South Africans usually say, when you criticize March and March, you're pretty much criticizing South Africans, because South Africa is March and March, and March and March is South Africa. Like, it's a movement that's supported by millions of South Africans. I mean, if you literally just go back to 30th of June and you look at the people that were literally outside on in the streets, and people who weren't in the streets but who were on social media supporting the movement of literally protesting against illegal immigration, you'd see that it's not a small organization. It's not a small move. Well, the organization itself might have a small number of members, but the support that this organization is getting is coming from millions of South Africans. So to say that, say, oh my God, yo, these people are doing a great job isolating themselves, that's South Africans deciding to make these decisions. Because unlike you guys there in Zanu PF and Zimbabwe, South Africans actually have the legal right to protest in the streets of South Africa to show their dissatisfaction about how things are being governed in the country. I think that Zimbabweans themselves too also are attributed to the same privilege, but your government is refusing to allow these people to operate their constitutional commandment right. That is you guys. What's going on, Cedric? Long time. So you are now promoting AfriForum. Not at all, Buddha. Listen to me closely, right? I'm just against Home Slice criticizing March and March as if they're not doing the exact same thing that the apartheid system was doing to South Africans back in the day. You understand what I'm saying? The only reason why Zanu PF hates March and March is because March and March was able to rile up Zimbabweans to protest on July 30th. Even though it didn't happen, they were still able to literally get these people to realize that, say, your government is oppressing you guys, and you guys need to, and you guys need to stand up and defend yourselves against your oppressive government. Your 2026 quote-unquote black apartheid government, in my humble opinion. I'm sorry, I said it. If that's defending AfriForum, so be it, tough. But all I'm saying is that you cannot be oppressing black people as a black person and now criticizing March and March to literally try to get their black government to stop oppressing them, or to at least do what they're getting paid to do. Bare minimum, implement immigration laws. Literally. Just do your flipping job. If that's defending AfriForum, so be it. Oopsie. You know what I mean? This is the part that I told you about, of Zimbabweans getting dispossessed off of their land there in Zimbabwe. And this is the same brew that's criticizing March and March for getting in bed or trying to learn from a forum that seems to be doing a very good job at defending its people against our oppressive black government. Okay? This guy is okay with Zimbabweans getting dispossessed off of their ancestral land. And he seems to be very, very invested in South African affairs. But calling out his own bosses seems to be something that he can't do, because obviously he also wants to get a piece of this pie that's been distributed amongst the officials there in Zimbabwe. I'd argue that Homestyle should probably try to mind his own business and let our March and March movement literally do what it has to do to defend its black people. Because if there was a March and March movement there in Zimbabwe, this guy would be devastated. He would be devastated. And I'm not going to be the one to make jokes and try to clown the Zimbabwean folks for being cowards. I mean, literally that's the best way, the most logical way to put it. It's cowardice what's going on there in Zimbabwe, because they literally failing to hold their government accountable. And I can't blame them, because judging from how they've been treated, this is literally the same things that the apartheid government was doing to its people, to South Africans. So I actually empathize with Zimbabweans. You know what I mean? So I can't make fun of them anymore. At this point, it's like I say, they need our help as South Africa. They literally need our help. And honestly, this is the best way that I know how to help them. Use my platform to voice out these inhumane acts that their government is doing against them. This is extremely, extremely inhumane. They literally demolishing properties of people that live in rural Zimbabwe. These people can barely already afford to put food on plate, and they're getting their houses destroyed. How the black card are they going to be able to rebuild these houses again? Bro, just watch this.
Arti abva kwa president. Hanzi ndabva kwa president saka ndachandotya.
Dzimba dziri kubwanywa kuno. Vari kutonga. Vari kutonga. Avaka. Vari kutonga.
Many Zimbabweans are currently heartbroken seeing these hearts being destroyed like this. It looks like they are not stopping when it comes to destroying people's homes. Not even in the rural areas, deep in the rural areas. According to other unverified reports, they are saying that there is somebody from the government official, somebody from the top government official who wants to use that land for his projects, for his pigs project or farming, whatever projects. You know, if that's the case, that is the most heartbreaking thing ever. Because the government, they say rural area is a state land, is a government land, but in reality, it's actually people's ancestral land. That is Nakayawe Wakasirwa Nmazi Baba Avo Nmazi Tateguru Avo. The truth is, the rural land is ancestral land. They do not want to give villagers title deeds to their ancestral land because they want to take it from them. Anytime when they feel like taking the land, they will take without feeling guilt or anything because they will tell you that the land belongs to the government. That way, you will not have any say about your ancestral land or any power.
Manaka.
Look at this. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So basically Zimbabwe got back the land only to keep it with the state. Literally only to keep it with the state. They took back the land. They said, okay, everybody, now you can get your piece of land anywhere in the country. Now that everybody got their little piece of stance and they were able to build something, maybe start farming or whatever, now they're saying, get out of here. We want it back. Why? Because some politician wants to build a project to start his piggery farm. And now we've been called xenophobic for literally trying to hold our government accountable for the BS that they've been doing in the country. God forbid there's an organization called March and March trying to hold its government accountable. Oh yeah, now you who's the oppressor. Literally, you are the oppressor. Especially you, Bruce, there in Zanu PF. You guys are the oppressors of the Zimbabwean folk. There's no white man to blame about for the oppression that's happening right now in Zimbabwe. So who are we gonna blame? If not for the same political party that's been operating in Zimbabwe for years, that's currently saying that we do not want to stop operating this country and running it to the ground. They want to sign off a bill. I think it already happened. They already signed off a bill that'll make sure that Zimbabwe or Zanu PF is in power until 2030, if I'm not mistaken. They do not want to leave those comfortable seats. It's too cozy up there. And they're okay with their citizens being all over the country, all over the world, just not in the country of Zimbabwe, but all over the continent of Africa, just not in Zimbabwe though. They're okay with that. And we should be okay with that as well. Otherwise, you are labeled as xenophobic. Join me in the next live stream, ladies and gentlemen. I'll keep showing you guys clips and videos of the atrocities of the government there in Zimbabwe, together with everything else that comes in between. Appreciate you guys for joining this one. Catch you guys in the next one. It's true.